Thank you for that. Joining me now, former senior advisor to DHS and retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Bernie Flowers. Colonel Flowers, welcome back to the show.
Rick, it's good to see you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I wish it was under better circumstances. I mean, this is just such an awful, awful story. And the suspect, as we heard, Reed Lawrence, was out on pretrial release on an aggravated battery charge when he allegedly set that woman on fire. And given his long criminal record, you know, we've asked this question before. How does a guy like that walk free? And how big a failure is this for the Chicago court system?
The American people deserve better. That mayor there, Brandon Johnson, is terrible. People have voted for this guy, and he's been nothing but a disappointment. Also, Governor Pritzker, terrible human being as far as I'm concerned. The American people deserve better. The people of Illinois, the people of Chicago. I don't know what we're going to do about this voting thing, because folks got to vote these people out, because this man has had, 70 arrests and about 15 convictions. That's insane. That man should have been in jail a long time ago. He's an absolute monster.
It's one thing to arrest somebody, as you know, but you got to lock them up. If you don't punish criminals, they're going to keep committing crimes. You have to show them. You got to show them that you mean business. And you mentioned the mayor, Brandon Johnson of the Windy City. He called the heinous attack an isolated incident and claimed the city's L trains are still safe. Watch this.
This is a horrific tragedy that should have never happened. Our CTA system provides roughly 1 million rides per day. It is critical in this moment that we reassure riders and make the necessary investments so that riders and workers feel safe on our trains.
There have been many complaints about a lack of safety on Chicago's trains. Why would he pretend they're safe after this brutal attack? And why wouldn't he ask for more help when he could have had it and probably still could?
Personally, I think that Mayor Johnson is intent on destroying our city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, and the country of the United States. This guy seems to do everything bass-ackward. I don't get it, but American people, the people who pay the taxes, the citizens deserve better. And you should be able to get on a taxpayer-funded train and get to work, get to school, go to the places you need to go. You should be able to do that in absolute safety in this country. And this man, should have been recalled a long time ago, as far as I'm concerned. It's just terrible.
Bernie, I want you to stay with me while we watch this next report about a federal judge who ordered the Trump administration to end the deployment of the National Guard in Washington, D.C. Here's Carla Babb. Oh, just the intro. Okay. Here's some stats from the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. Since the National Guard arrived, violent crime dropped by 49%, burglaries fell by 48%, and carjackings were down 83%. Overall crime fell by 25% compared to the same time a year ago. So you bring in the National Guard, looks like a pretty successful outcome. So why would a judge want to pull the plug on something that's working so well?
Unfortunately, our judicial system has been infiltrated for a very, very long time by people who do not want to see us do well. I worked in D.C. for decades, back and forth, and I was over at the Anacostia area at DHS headquarters in my last job. And before the Guard came in, that was a place you simply didn't want to be outside that fence. I felt bad for the residents of Anacostia, because people talk about D.C. A lot of folks go there. They don't understand that Anacostia was literally a war zone before the National Guard was deployed. So I got to give Mr. Trump credit for that. And wherever he's deployed the Guard, like Memphis and Chicago, things have gotten better. I don't understand why people have resistance. I'd love to see him deployed to Baltimore. That's another story. But I hear they're going down to New Orleans, and they're just cleaned up in Charlotte. They've done a wonderful job lowering crime. That's what we're about.
Yeah, and Bernie, as somebody who grew up in the D.C. area, I remember Anacostia being one of those no-go zones. There were just certain areas you didn't go to because they were very, very dangerous. And you mentioned Charlotte, you mentioned that we think the Guard's headed to New Orleans. it certainly seems like this is making an impact and making a difference for every city the Guard has visited.
Oh, yeah. Well, the bottom line is that Americans are paying exorbitant taxes. They deserve safety wherever you live, whether you're in the inner city or out in the country or out on some highway. The bottom line is Pax Americana. We're supposed to be safe here in our country of origin. And so the Guard is, basically here to make sure that happens. And I'm happy to see that the president has deployed them and he's supporting them, letting ICE and Customs and Border Patrol do their job. I'd like to see them deployed to pretty much most cities. And again, I live outside of Baltimore, and I'd love to see that happen here in Baltimore and see some of this crime go down.
Understood, Bernie. And I want to mention the Border Patrol as well. I mentioned the Guard. I also intended to say the Border Patrol will be there in New Orleans. So get ready, folks. Bernie Flowers, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.